Najah Farrell was the cornerstone of her family. She was in a long-term relationship and engaged to be married, but no date has been set. She enjoyed spending time with her children, as well as her nieces and nephews, and always had a group of kids with her. She was happiest when spending time with them. So it came as no surprise to her family when she decided to become a foster parent to 3 additional children to her sons because she wanted to give back and be there for children who didn't have anyone else. Najah had been a stay-at-home mom for when her children were young, but had recently taken a new position at Panera Bread, which would offer her a little bit more income and a schedule that worked around the kids' school schedules. Her new job required her to be there at 5 a.m. and on a day that she went missing, it would have been her third day of orientation, but she never made it there. Najah was last seen at her home near Country Road South and Dan Jones Road in Avon, Indiana, during the early hours of March 15, 2019. Najah never showed up to the Panera Bread on West 86th Street near I-465 and Zionsville Road in Indianapolis, Northwest Side, but it wasn't until she didn't show up to pick up her sons from school that her mom, Paula, was notified of her absence. This was an immediate red flag as Najah was dependable, reliable, and would never miss picking up her kids. After attempting to contact Najah herself with no answer, they decided to call the police. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department was notified and immediately began investigating. When they learned that Najah was a Hendricks County resident, they transferred the case to the Avon Police Department, a much smaller department, and because it was the end of the day on Friday, the case was not assigned to a detective until Monday morning. The search for Najah was extensive and included an aerial and ground searches across the city, but to no avail. Nearly 2 weeks later, her 2018 Nissan Altima was discovered in a shopping center parking area near her job. Shortly after that, construction workers contacted police after they found some random papers and personal items near I-465 and Lafayette Road in Indianapolis. While the media never reported what items were found, Najah's sister, Jaleesa, disclosed that it was an ID and bank cards belonging to her sister. In April 2019, police got a call from the Crown Point Police Department in Indiana, about 2 hours away. 2 fishermen at a pond off of I-65 and 109th Avenue had discovered human remains. A severed foot was pulled from the pond with a tattoo matching Najah's name. No other remains were found. After confirming the body part belonged to Najah through DNA testing, authorities launched a thorough search of the pond and surrounding areas but did not find any additional clues. Since the last discovery of her remains, there has not been any new information or breakthroughs in Najah's case, and no other remains has ever been discovered. Najah's case remains unsolved with many lingering questions. Why was her car found in that shopping center? Was she on her way to work and abducted in a parking lot? Did she go willingly? Why were her remains disposed of near a major interstate? Did Najah's assailant frequent the area? Did she know her assailant? Her family continues to celebrate her life every year on her birthday, but no other leads have ever surfaced in her case.
Central Indiana family is still without answers 5 years after their loved one, a young mom, disappeared.
Najah Farrell was supposed to be headed to work but never arrived on this day in 2019. Then a discovery let the family know that Najah was never coming home.
Our Emily Longnecker tonight has covered Najah's story since the beginning, and tonight she talked with her mom about this ongoing search to find out what really happened.
Paula Golson woke up Friday morning with the same question she's had every day for the past 5 years, wondering if her daughter's killer will ever be found and brought to justice.
It never goes away.
Friday marks 5 years since Golson's daughter, 30-year-old Najah Farrell, disappeared. Police say the mother of two, who was also a foster mother and lived in Avon, never showed up for work that morning. But when Najah didn't show to pick up her foster kids from school later that same day, that's when Najah's mother called police.
I knew something was wrong because it was not Najah.
A week later, police found Najah's car on the northwest side of Indianapolis, along with some of her belongings scattered on Interstate 65, but not her purse or her phone.
Never recovered. Never recovered.
A month later, men fishing in a pond near Crown Point, 100 miles north of Avon, found a severed foot. Tests revealed it came from the body of someone who had already died. DNA tests revealed it belonged to Najah Farrell.
I never would want a family to have to experience anything like this, and especially the way that we have.
According to Najah's mom, at the time she disappeared, she was living with her fiancé, but had recently called off the engagement. Golson says he told her Najah texted him after she left for work that morning. Golson wonders if her daughter even left the house that day.
The children still saw her work shoes there at the house. They saw her coat that was there.
In the past 5 years, the case has been featured nationally, both on television and on podcasts. None of it has brought any answers to Najah's mother or her two young sons, now 11 and 17.
We don't have closure.
Golson believes someone close to Najah knows what really happened to her.
Please, yeah, to have the courage to stand up and to help someone else, Don't take that, to your grave,
That someone who needs help isn't just Golson, but her two grandsons, children who've lived every day for 5 years without their mom and without any idea what happened to her or why. Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
We reached out to Avon Police to get an update on this case. Haven't heard back from them yet. We'll let you know if they get back to us.
Welcome back to Cover True Crime. I'm Najah, and if you reached this part of the video, thank you for listening to Najah's story. If you watched the news segment with the interview of Miss Golson, which is Najah's mother, she actually, in the interview, pinpointed a lot of important information, which was right before we got to this part of the video. In the interview, she states that no one thinks in the family that Najah left the home that morning. It was stated that her sons saw her shoes, which were her work shoes, and saw her jacket that she normally wears to work still left at home. So no one in the family believed that Najah left the house that day. It is also stated that her fiance at the time was the last person to see her. He actually told Miss Golson, Najah's mother, that he saw her in that morning and that he texted her, or that she texted him stating that, or she saw him in the morning, that she needed him to get the children ready to school because she had to go to work. So there's a lot with this case, and as you see that it was in a news segment, it was in plenty of news segments. It's been covered nationally, and till this day, almost 6 years later, there is no new leads, there are no new suspects in this case, and this family, Najah's family, deserves justice and peace and some sort of closure. And this is why I do what I do with Cover True Crime. As I was investigating further and doing my research, I came across, as like I said, what the family members are still fighting for Najah and for justice to this day. I came across one of the family members that has been speaking publicly about her sister's case. And everything that I say from here on out is going to be allegedly, because this is information that I have uncovered. this is information that I read or that I heard. It wasn't brought to my attention. I didn't hear it from the source being spoken to me. So everything here on out is going to be allegedly. Now, when I uncovered this information, one of Najah's family members stated that everyone in the family, myself included, and I would like to know how you feel towards the end of this video. We all feel like Najah's fiance at the time should be a number one suspect. The reason is, if you watch any red rum or any cases that you hear on the news or that you read about or in podcasts, whenever there is an unaliving of an individual and there is a significant other, there is a husband, there's their wife, there is a boyfriend or girlfriend, the number one suspect that they always look into is that significant other. And there is a lot of circumstantial evidence that goes into saying why the family, myself, and I would like to know how you feel towards the end of this video, feel that her now ex-fiance has a big part to play in Najah's disappearance. He was the last person to be seen with her. And just because we saw her vehicle on CCTV camera and neighborhood footage at 3:15 in the morning, that doesn't mean that Najah was in that vehicle. Also, when it comes to cases, a lot of cases, every case, there is always a motive. If there isn't a motive, you're dealing with an individual that is either a sociopath or who is a serial red rug. Right or wrong. It's either crime of passion, it's either money, it's either, there's a motive. So if you ask yourself, what is the motive? Sadly, there shouldn't be a motive to any unaliving of any individual, but there is. What would be the motive? And as I've been digging and digging and digging, also being told by a family member, a loved one of Najah, there was, and there is, a life insurance policy. It has also been publicly known that Najah called off the engagement prior to her disappearance. The family knows this. It has been made to the public. But whenever the family go to the Avon police department, all they can say is, this is circumstantial evidence, which I don't seem to understand, because in a court of law, circumstantial evidence is allowed to be brought into evidence if it can successfully convict a person of a crime. And circumstantial evidence can become substantial evidence, especially if you follow in the leads for it to be evidence. But if you're ignoring all the evidence, and what can you expect of the case to go on from? The family also feels, because of the jurisdiction where Najah was found, Avon had to take on the case. The family feels that that Avon, the police department, is not equipped to handle such a case this way. And I agree. And what I found ridiculous is that there was a news article that I read that they basically state that. If I can find it, I will pull it up here. They basically state that at the time frame when they were searching for Najah, they were working on Najah's case, there was also another disappearance, another missing woman or individual that their department was being spread thin. So it's obvious that they either don't have the manpower, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the funding. Something isn't going on right. And it doesn't sit right with me, it doesn't sit right with the family. So at the ending of this video, the family is looking into hiring some better representation or a private detective so they can get some answers and bring some closure and some peace and some justice into their family and to their loved one, Najah. If you guys can check that out, it's going to be listed in the link below. Another thing that was also discovered that was never brought to the public, but just recently brought to the public by a loved one, was that there was a gun, a weapon in Najah's vehicle the day that they found it. Why wasn't this weapon dusted for prints? Who did it belong to? Where's the answers to that? So they're not getting any of the answers, and it can be very, very frustrating, rightfully so, when this is your loved one that you're talking about and you're screaming at the top of your lungs, look here, look here, look here, and they're just like, oh, we'll get back to you. Oh, or they don't get back to you. It's really heartbreaking. So there is a lot going on with this case, that this is why I picked it, so I can shed some light into what's going on, and hopefully we can get some answers. As always, the Crime Stoppers numbers will be below if you have any answers to this case or any tips. If you know something, say something. You can always submit a tip anonymously. No one will never know who you are. This family deserves some closure. There are innocent sons that deserve some closure and to have their mother brought home. So if don't, like Miss Golson said, don't take it to your grave, and just be able to lay your head in peace at night. Okay, that some other people, that family can't do. Also, Najah's fiance's name was never publicized. I don't know his name, and the family never mentions his name. But it was mentioned that any visual, any candlelight that they actually had for Najah, her ex-fiance was never there. So he doesn't want to show his face for some particular reason. There's just a lot of things that scream check him, and the fact that nothing is being done is what's unbelievable. So once again, I hope this sheds some light a little bit, and if for anyone to come forth. And thank you for listening to Najah's story, and I see you again next Sunday with an all new case. Bye.